As Hans Olsen has moved on to the corporate world, we're looking for the next great Utah sports radio talent.
There's something for everyone.
While we do that, you get stuck with this guy.
Hey, everybody, here's our star.
This is Scotty G and Friends on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
All right, folks, let's get it. How about that? That's another one we got to put in the old jar, huh? Yeah, there's a hands jar.
Just set
anytime
that money
we mention
aside,
it.
please.
What's that?
Just set that money aside for me.
I know. We'll have a big party here pretty soon. But yeah, we've got the hands jar. Every time we mention the name, we got to put $1 in the jar. Instead of the swear jar, we have the hands jar. But we have got a busy show. Brock Huard is going to join us from Seattle coming up here in just a moment. Kurt Helin, NBC Sports and ProBasketballTalk.com. And also, Frank Schwab will join us from Yahoo Sports, and some guy named Patrick Kinahan will also join us coming up at 2:05. All right, there's so much to break down. We got so much to talk about. First off, recapping the Super Bowl as it finally is now in the rearview mirror. And again, Brock Huard will help us with that coming up here in just a moment. But it is a bittersweet moment, as we talked about yesterday. The NFL season's officially done. College football's been done for a minute. And now we just have to gear up and get ready for the long off season and watch baseball. Yeah, nobody wants that. Hey, you have your Mammoth. And as soon as the Olympics are over in the next 4.5 weeks, then we'll have some Mammoth hockey back. I'm just, the Olympics are something that I know that I should be into and I will watch. I just have a hard time really breaking down curling. And I'll sit there and I'll watch it and I'll have a great time and enjoy it. But when it comes around and trying to do something and really trying to get fired up about what's popping on TV and getting ready for another big curling event or another big figure skating event, I just have a hard time. I know. It's just not quite what you would hope it to be. Now, we'll have hockey, and ultimately, if we can get ourselves a United States versus Canada gold medal game, then everything's worth it. Absolutely everything is completely worth it. So that's what you're hoping for. I have a sneaking suspicion we'll probably see that, and if that does indeed go down, then, hey, I'm on. Let's go. But the problem I have with the Olympics is the Mammoth were cooking. Mammoth were playing such great hockey, and then they got to go on a break for 3.5 weeks. And, I'm ready to get them back on the ice here in Delta Center. Joining us now, one of our favorites, it is Brock Huard, joining us from a very happy Seattle. How you doing, Brock?
Oh, Scotty, too hotty. We are just spoiled. We are just spoiled in the Pacific Northwest. Let me just say that, all right? I'm like a trust fund baby that knows how good I have it. All right, the Mariners on the precipice of the World Series, the Seahawks lifting the Lombardi. Like, man, we got it good right now in the Pacific Northwest.
All right, so, yeah, you feel like you were born on second base when you do radio in Seattle right now.
More like third base. Yeah, more like third.
Yeah.
Maybe halfway home. Yes.
What was your confidence level going into that Super Bowl? Because frankly, I really felt like they were going to win that game and win it big.
Yeah, it was pretty high, honestly. Not as high as Salk. We were on Media Row last week, and anybody and everybody that came on was like, well, you're going to get blasted. Like, they're going to blow them out. It's going to not even be close. Like, this is stupid. Like, why do you even think it's going to be a game? Like, you're not near, like, I'm like, Salk, take it down a notch. This is the Super Bowl, and it's only a 4-point spread. Like, come on, man. And I even asked Mike, I said, were you ever nervous? He's like, yeah, a little bit before kick. I was thinking about this is Salk a little bit. I was a little over the top with my confidence. But then once the game started, honestly, from the first play, which was outside zone, they gained 10 yards. They score on the first drive. They were undefeated this year when they scored first. Like, yeah, they're the better team. And then watching that front absolutely detonate and decimate anything New England tried to do, yeah, it was pretty cool to put that stamp of defensive approval on that game and leave that mark and leave poor Drake May in tears.
I'm really fired up to break this down because I want to get the quarterback perspective on this, because New England was getting a pretty good pass rush on Sam Darnold. And but yet you could see the experience, and nothing seemed to rattle him, even when he got pressure. On the flip side, Drake May, he looked like a second-year player playing in a Super Bowl, for crying out loud. And it's not to say he's not going to be a great quarterback down the line, but he showed a high level of inexperience in that game.
Yeah, I think the difference, and I'll give like a little Utah background on this, is what New England was doing was what Morgan Scalley loves to do, and that's bring a lot of people and bring pressure and play cover zero and just play man and be hyper aggressive. And when you're playing against that scheme as a quarterback like Sam was, you know they're going to win some of them, right? They're gonna hit me. I got to get the ball out earlier. Like, you're going to win. You got more chess pieces at the line of scrimmage than I do blockers. And you know what? I just eventually have got to be patient, because eventually we're going to get explosive runs. Eventually we're going to get the right call at the right time to throw the touchdown on the little scissors concept to the tight end. Like, it's a boom or bust. On the flip side, it was like the Buccaneers defense with Monty Kiffin the last time a defense was really this dominant Super Bowl. Like, no, we just rushed 4. Or the New York Giants NASCAR package. Like, no, we just rushed 4. And when your 4 beat the other 5, as Collinsworth said, there's no more demoralizing a feeling. And as a QB, you're like, this really sucks. Like, I got nowhere to go. They got 7 guys for my 4, in coverage, and I got nowhere to go. And then these 4 are hitting me, harassing me, knocking me down, beating me up, just making my life miserable. So, yes, it was a young quarterback, but I think even more than that, Scotty, it was a scheme that suffocates you when you only rush 4 and you can't block them. See also Tampa, see also the Giants, see also Philadelphia last year. Like, that is the kryptonite for any offense, no matter how talented they are.
How much do you put on Josh McDaniel for not being able to scheme around some deficiencies you had in that game on the offensive line?
Yeah, it's just like the most basic arithmetic. If you can't block 4, I don't care who you are. Like, it just doesn't work. Like, come on, Andy Reid. Like, you're Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes. Come on. Get the answers. Like, no, we can't block Philly. Like, we can't, come on, Tom Brady. Come on, Joshy Boy and Tom Brady. You got Randy Moss. Block it. No, we can't block their 4. Like, I mean, I have a hard time kind of criticizing, especially with Drake May being a really, I know he's a second-year player, but just wash away the dysfunction of last year. And in many ways, he was like a rookie player this year. So if Brady and Mahomes and those guys couldn't solve that arithmetic, there was no way that Drake and Josh McDaniels in this version were going to get it done.
Brock Huard, kind enough to join us, putting the finishing touches on the Super Bowl. If you had to look at the Legion of Doom versus that defense you saw in the Super Bowl, who are you taking?
Ooh, different. Yeah, kind of different cast of characters. I would say this one is deeper, and you saw that, unfortunately, in the 2014 loss, Scotty, when they lost Cliff Averill to the concussion. I would contend if they would not have lost Jeremy Lane and Cliff Averill, they would have won back-to-back Super Bowls. It wouldn't have come down to a couple plays at the goal line at the end. They had a two-possession lead. They would have finished that game, and they'd have been 2-time champs. And who knows? Maybe it would have been a third one after that. But that defense, once they lost Averill and once they lost their nickel Jeremy Lane early, like, you could see they didn't have the depth. This defense, you could have lost Kobe Bryant and Ty Okada would have come in. You could have lost another corner and another corner comes in. You could rush 8 different guys. You could have lost Ernest Jones and Tyrese Knight comes in. Like, this defense was deeper and I think more well-versed. But that one, especially the front line of it in 13, that group, and they held, like, go look at the scoring differential. Like, this crew was number 1 in scoring defense. I think it's 17 points a game. Do you realize that 2013 team held teams to 11 points a game? Not in 1960 or 70 or 80. Like, that was just a dozen years ago. So that team was more dominant. This team was deeper. And overall, or those defenses, and overall, this team 1 through 70 was deeper. This is the greatest Seahawks team in franchise history, and I will stand on the rock and the mountaintop and scream it. Every stat tells you that. The scoring differential tells you that. The DVOA tells you that. Your eyes tell you that. 1 through 70, this team, there was a reason they won 17 games. They were deeper. They were better equipped. They could win in so many different ways, and ultimately stomped out the Patriots.
Well, and when you talk about 1 through 70, one thing I love about how the Seahawks have built this team is there's some coaches and some general managers, and I complain about this in the collegiate level too, that coaches don't spend a lot of time recruiting or offering scholarship to special teams players, your kickers and your punters. Seattle's gone all in on special teams. They pay those guys well, and frankly, that punter was as responsible as anybody for that win, simply making Seattle start inside the 5 and the 10-yard line, drive after drive, which led to a field position battle and led to field goals being kicked and that lead.
No question. And it is the highest paid special teams group in the league because of Jason Myers and because of Michael Dixon getting paid top of market. But in the scheme of things, they're almost a rounding error or a decimal point when it comes to what those dollars and cents are. $4 million a year for the highest paid punter. Do you make a difference? Yes. And we just finished with Mike McDonald in our final show of the year an hour ago, and he was like, you understand that punt returner was like the best in the league and one of the best in NFL history when it comes to yards per return. He was that dynamic. And the fact that, Dixon kicked it away, the fact there was so much hang time, the fact they covered the way they did, because they did have to punt a fair amount. New England's defense was really good. New England's defense gave up 8 points a game in the 3 playoff games and embarrassed Herbert and embarrassed Stroud, right, and obviously got after Stidham. That's a really, really, really good defense. That's a championship-worthy defense, but it wasn't a championship-worthy offense, and then was neutralized even in the special teams phase by a group that was the best in the league.
Did you get a sense pretty quickly that Mike McDonald was going to be what he's turned out to be?
Yes and no. I would say once he made the move off of Ryan Grubb, and he and John Schneider were decisive in that way, and once Kubiak and his crew came in, and then once Cooper Kupp and Sam Darnold pivot, this is going to be fun to watch. Scotty, I've kind of tried to put this in perspective, right? 12 years ago, they win the first one, the first ever in our market, and I'm trying to figure out why that one felt so much, bigger, but it was just meaningful because it took 4 years to incubate. 7-9, Russell Wilson divisional round, 13 win, boom, you win it. This one was almost a 1 year. I've kind of said it's almost like a inheritance. Here you go. You just take it. You didn't really earn it. It's a gift, and you just really enjoy it. And even over the course of this year, Scotty, there were numerous times. So it was hey man, are the fans in? Do they see what we're watching? And it really wasn't until that Thursday night win over the Rams that everyone was finally oh, okay, this is real. And this is a chance to be really special. And then they curb stomped the Niners in the finale, okay, yeah. So it's kind of been this 4-week, 5-week madhouse sprint to lift this trophy that, oh my gosh, this is real. And these guys really got it done. So, yeah, it's a different vibe and a different feeling. And to say that anybody believed going into this year, yeah, Mike McDonald, they're poised to do it. Yep, look at the power rankings. They were in the 20s. They were 60-1 odds. This wasn't supposed to happen. But, man, was the buy-in real. Man, do they love each other. And, man, did they absolutely put their stamp on it Sunday.
So usually Las Vegas and the Raiders are where quality coaches go to die. Why do you think, and if you do think Clint Kubiak, why do you think he'll be different there?
Yeah, I think the only way that works there, and this will be really interesting to watch this week and into next, is, when he came to Seattle, and they were able to do that this year because he brought John Benton and he brought Janoko and he brought other people with him, right? Because the New Orleans staff had been fired, so he could bring people with him. This will be a little different animal, and I think it'll be worth watching. And I know Lloyd's deeply interested in this on the other side of the glass. This will be really interesting to see how much he can poach and how much Seattle says, sorry. Mike McDonald, when he left Baltimore and came to Seattle, Scotty, he brought almost nobody with him because John Harbaugh, I think, was pretty clear, sorry, yep, you're not taking him. He's under contract. Sorry. Unless you elevate somebody into the play caller, you're not taking them. So this will be kind of an interesting little negotiation. I think Clint is deeply respected. I think he and Mike love each other. I think it will be professional. But that will be, if I'm a Raiders fan, how many people can he bring with him from Seattle, and in particular at the line of scrimmage, because he needs those resources around him to have success.
Do you think Seattle promotes from within there, or do they go outside?
Yeah, I would lean that way. This will be for Jackson Smith and Jigba, his fourth coordinator in 4 years. That's not a good thing typically. So Mike made it pretty clear today with us that continuity will matter. I would think they'd try to keep as many people together on the staff and elevate from within as much as they possibly can, unless they're overwhelmed. And you know what? Unlike a lot of other teams that just do what, the book says to do, Seattle doesn't do that. It's why they moved on from Russ, why they moved on from Gino, why they moved on from DK, why John Schneider was patient and hired Mike McDonald when everybody interviewed him and loved him, but we're like, well, we need to hire an offensive guy because that's what you do. They're not always by the book. So if they get overwhelmed, and they will do their homework, by somebody outside, they could make that move, but I think they would love to have the continuity of someone in-house.
Well, we appreciate your time as always. Hopefully Kyle's got you a good spot reserved so you can be outside and call a parade because you guys earned it for sure.
Yeah, I mean, it's 10 a.m. I mean, Bump and Stacy, we get Boyle, we get McDonald, and we're on Radio Row, with Daniel Jeremiah every week. So we're going to be good teammates, and we're going to let Bump and Stacy do the whole 4-hour parade at 10 to 2. How about that?
That's awfully kind of you. That's very kind of you.
At some point, Scott, I need a nap. Like, this has been
I bet.
But first world problems, I kind of need a nap.
Hey, by the way, I'm going to hit you up a little later. I got a couple things to run past you, but we appreciate you as always. Thanks for joining us.
Always fun, brother. Be well.
You got it. Brock Huard, one of our favorites right here on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone, anchoring a monster of a show there in Seattle. Brock and Sock do a tremendous job, and big fans of what they've built there. And, we've always talked about when we look at Bonneville, in which we're a part of, they've got all these rankings. And it's like Lloyd, I don't know, it's kind of like a used car lot where you walk in and you see the whiteboard and you see, this sales guy is selling this much, this guy's doing this much. And so they like to pit the stations and the shows against each other. So we will always see Brock and Sock on like downloads and streams. They're like ridiculous numbers. Like I think they've got a cell farm in like Taiwan that has they're just streaming things nonstop there.
Yeah, I think you're right. They have to have some sort of cell farm.
I don't know how they're doing it, but they're pulling it off, and good for them. We respect them. And then you got Mark Schlereth and his show number 2 in the company, and then we're at number 3. Now we might be able to get Schlereth. That's who I'm aiming for. Like we're coming for Schlereth. Stink, we're gonna get you. Sock and Brock, that might be a little too much. I think it's important that you understand who you are and where you are, and take those little victories. Schlereth, yeah, we're getting you.
Not always easy to beat trust fund babies.
No. And you know what? Good for him for admitting it, too, because there's a lot of trust fund babies out there like, I worked for everything. No, you didn't. Stop it. No, you didn't. Everything was handed to you. Knock it off. But he's like, yeah, you know what? We walk into here, and we've got the Mariners that were cooking last year. We've got the Seahawks who are winning Super Bowls. Yeah, life's pretty good. And, frankly, we didn't have time to talk about it, but after what Adam Silver said the other day, there's a good – or I believe what was it yesterday – there's a good chance the NBA is coming back to Seattle here in the next couple of years. So whether it's a expansion team or whether somebody moves there, Seattle's getting an NBA team. In 2 to 3 years, Seattle will have an NBA team. Las Vegas will have an NBA team. It's just a matter of somebody moves there or if they just give them an expansion team. Either way, it's going to happen. So then they really hit the trifecta with the NFL and the Sonics coming back to town. It's good to live in Seattle right now, outside of living in Seattle where it rains, 300 days out of the year. Right here on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
You're listening to Scotty G and Friends on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Welcome on back, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Scott Gerard with you. Hope you're having a great one. It's a Tuesday, and that means we got Jazz tickets to give away. Let's do it.
It's Jazz Ticket Tuesday, and your chance to win tickets is right now.
Call this number now.
Be caller number 12 at 801-575-ZONE. 801-575-ZONE. And you'll be on your way to Delta Center to see the Utah Jazz.
He fires the 3. He hits! Oh, don't do me like that.
This is 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
All right, you know the drill. Call number 12 right now, 801-575-ZONE. That's 801-575-ZONE, and you'll win a pair of tickets. See the Jazz take on the Portland Trailblazers on February 12th, coming up at the Delta Center. That game will tip off at 7 o'clock. If you want those tickets, be calling number 12 right now, 801-575-ZONE. All right, so the Jazz pick up a W on the road last night, knocking off the Miami Heat 115-111. Jazz had a big second quarter and then started to give the lead back a bit, ultimately holding on, getting the victory, and again, in the fourth quarter, no Jaren Jackson, no Lauri Markkanen. Lloyd, I don't know if you got the quote or not. I should have sent this over to you earlier, but somebody asked Will Hardy after the game, was there any thought whatsoever of putting Jaren Jackson back into the game in the fourth quarter? And he gave a very lengthy, detailed answer as to why. Here it is.
How close were you to putting Jaren and Lauri back in the game?
I wasn't.
That's it. How close were you to putting him back in the game? I wasn't. Next question. Smart man, because you had Jaren Jackson playing 24 minutes, Lauri Markkanen 24 minutes. So what do you prefer? And, Lloyd, I want to get your opinion on this, too, because we talked about this yesterday. So what do you prefer as a Jazz fan? Would you – look, we all want losses, right? And last night the Jazz got a win. But we need this team. If you're a Jazz fan, you desperately need them to hold on to that first-round pick. You do not want that to be conveyed to Oklahoma City. The last thing Oklahoma City needs is another high first-round draft pick. So if you're the Jazz, you need to hold on to that first spot. Remember, it's protected 1 through 8. So that's where the Jazz need to land in the lottery. It's not about where you end at the regular season, like, okay, we had the 4th worst record, that's where we're going to be slotted. No, it's after the lottery balls are settled. That's where the Jazz will find out whether or not they're picking in that top 8 or not. So you need to lose as many games as you possibly can. So there's a number of ways you can do that. Number one, you can just sit out everybody and just give a complete middle finger to the fan bases in the NBA and play the Greg Popovich route and say, nah, we're not going to play anybody. And we'll make up reasons as to why. We'll play whatever silly game the NBA wants us to play and make up excuses and fake injuries as to why our guys aren't going. Or you can do what the Jazz have done and what Will Hardy has done. We just traded for a new shiny Maserati in Jaren Jackson Jr., and you as a fan base want to see what he can do. I, as a coach, want to see how he interacts with our guys and how they play on the court together as we rebuild this thing going into next season. So, yes, Jaren Jackson plays 24 minutes. Lauri Markkanen plays 24 minutes. Yusuf Nurkic plays 24 minutes. And in the fourth quarter, nothing. Jaren Jackson was on the court for 24 minutes last night. The Jazz were plus 15 when he was on the court. Here's your other, and I know plus minus can be a little misleading sometimes. Lauri Markkanen in his 24 minutes was -6. Yusuf Nurkic -3. Isaiah Collier in his 34 minutes, even 0. But when Jaren Jackson Jr. in his 24 minutes was plus 15. He ends up with 22 points on the night. He pulls down 5 rebounds, 3 assists, 2 steals. You're seeing the next key figure in Utah Jazz history on display, and you get to experience it. Now, in a perfect world, you're going to see exactly what happened in that game against Orlando. Jaren Jackson plays well. Lauri Markkanen plays well. You shut him down in the fourth quarter, and you end up losing that game. That was perfect. But all of a sudden, you got people around the NBA coming after the Jazz and saying, how dare you? You're ripping up the sanctity of the game. So you would rather the Jazz would not have caught the amount of heat they did had they just not played anybody. But yet they played them for a part of the game and shut them down in the fourth quarter. That apparently is worse than not playing them at all. I'd argue it goes the other way. If I'm an NBA fan and I want to see how Jaren Jackson plays with Lauri Markkanen out on the court and how Ace Bailey is now initiating good parts of the offense, he ends up with 2 assists but 8 rebounds last night, scores 16 points, and how your future superstar Ace Bailey works with Jaren Jackson and Lauri Markkanen on the court together, well, then guess what? You get some opportunities to see that. You get an opportunity as a coaching staff to develop that. And ultimately, you did get a win last night. You wish you hadn't have. Bryce Sensabaugh hits the big bucket down the stretch to give the Jazz the win. But I think the Jazz are handling this the right way. I prefer this route. Now, if they keep winning games, you may need to take a longer look at it. And I anticipate over the next few weeks, you're going to see those minutes really start to decline, whereas Jaren Jackson, maybe for home games, plays 24 minutes, and then all of a sudden some tendonitis flares up that nobody had heard of before. And
well, air travel
back-to-backs.
causes things to inflame.
It does.
Fact.
It does, yeah. I mean, look, I spent a lot of time last week on a plane. You know what? Came back, I'm like, yeah, you know what? I'm feeling it. You know,
knees were probably a little swollen.
Knees were a little banged up. Yesterday when it started raining, I could tell. I'm like, yep, been on a plane too long. Look, you got to shut it down. You got to make sure that you are taking care of your guys. But more importantly, you're losing games. So, I don't know, Lloyd. Would you rather they just not play altogether?
No, I want to see. I think they're. I'm with you. I think they're handling it right. And this witch hunt for the Utah Jazz right now, it's like, shut up. Like, this has been going on forever, and everybody goes about it a different way. They're sitting players. So you'd rather people go to these games and not see these players, see the great players. We know what they're doing. Everybody knows what everybody's doing. We know that people are tanking. If they want to change it, then they need to change the rules. They need to figure out something else if that's what they really want to do. But this has been going on forever, so shut up about it.
Spot on. Calm it down, people. And you know what? I don't want any negative news going towards the Utah Jazz going into the lottery, because we all know the lottery's got a little bit of a sketchy history. I want the Jazz just to lay low, and I just want them to go in with maybe the third or fourth worst record in the league. I don't want them to have the worst record in the league, because we saw how that worked out last year. I just want them to fly under the radar, and then all of a sudden, hey, look, when LeBron James was in the draft, he went to Cleveland. Where's he from? Cleveland, Akron, but, same thing. If you have a guy who is a top 3 pick and considered one of the best in what a lot of people think could be a generational draft in A.J. DeBonsa, he played high school ball in Utah. He plays college ball in Utah. Come on. And you screwed over the Jazz last year so you could put Cooper Flagg in Dallas. You owe us one. So I don't want any negative news going against the Jazz. Like, I want just
say it. Jazz have been getting hosed forever. They have been getting hosed.
Yeah. And in fact, I want to produce a T-shirt that has like the Jazz logo, being screwed over by the league since 1978. Something like that.
You wonder why Jazz fans have like a little bit of a complex? Because they have been. Yeah. There's a reason they have a complex, because they've been getting screwed since, what was the year again, Scotty? What was it like on the T-shirt?
I just guessed 78.
Okay.
I can't remember exactly when Larry Miller bought the team, but roughly
right around there. Yeah, I get your point. Yes, they have been getting hosed since then.
So come on, NBA, Adam Silver, you owe us one.
Do the right thing.
You owe us one. And look, our guys are trying to do the right thing. They're showcasing the best talent in the NBA. They're showcasing their best players. By the way, Larry Miller bought the team in '85. So
wow,
there you go. So being screwed over by the league since 1985. But, yeah, look, you owe us one. The Jazz deserve one. You throw A.J. DeBonsa on this team next year, and you let him grow, you let him develop, and you add a little 3-and-D, as we talked about with Ben Anderson yesterday. This is a playoff team next year. This is a 4 or 5 seed in the playoffs. No doubt whatsoever.
I love that. What I love most about this is, Jazz fans have been in the dumps for now 3 years. Like they have been. This is giving them a little bit of excitement, which they deserve. They haven't had anything to cheer for. I mean, you heard Locke after this happened. It's like the ding dong, the witch is dead. Like no more tanking. Like it's done. Like it's now the future is starting to build.
What you're going to see right now, we are going to look back 2-3 years from now when we're doing this show and we're talking about the Jazz as the number 1 seed or the number 2 seed going into the playoffs. You're going to look back to last week and say that was the moment that the misery ended. That moment when the Jazz pulled the trigger for Jaren Jackson Jr., that's when it ended. Now, I don't know what the future looks like. I don't know how this team's going to come together, but you have a 26-year-old that still has 4 years left on his contract. You don't have to worry about him. You're going to draft a guy in the top 3 or 4 of the NBA draft. Out of this year's draft. You've got Ace Bailey. You've got a superstar in Keontae George. And, now the question is, Walker Kessler, can you bring him back? Are you willing to match whatever contract he gets in restricted free agency? And then you look at Larry Markkinen and his contract status after these next couple of years. You have a window here to take advantage of it, and the Jazz, with Keontae George playing as well as he is, have hit on it in a big way. You just can't rock the boat. No winning games. And look, if you win games like you did last night, then yes, you do need to shut down Jaren Jackson because you got your pivotal piece. You got the thing that ends all the misery. Now you just got to build on it, and it all comes through the draft. All right, what you may have missed coming up next, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Wow. Hey, guess what? Our guy Brant already designed the shirt. Oh, chat. Well, I mean, that's all right. You know what? Send that over. We're going to, we're going to get that printed, and I'm sure Nate will give us a huge budget to print these out.
Hey, now's the time to ask, by the way.
Out of games.
I think now is the time to ask because I think Nate's getting loose.
Oh, yeah, let's not say that out loud because
he's in a meeting right now. I think he's in
is
a
he?
meeting. I think so. I don't think he's listening.
All right.
If we get a text here, we'll know better.
All right, Brant just sent you the shirt. Give me your thoughts on it.
Yeah.
Well done.
That is well done.
I think we got something. 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Again, what you may miss coming up next.
This is Scotty G and Friends on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Hey, remember, the best blanket ever is also the best Valentine's gift ever. Exclusive Valentine's blankets only available at Minky Couture. Save 50% off using promo code ZONE50 at Minky Couture stores and online at minkycouture.com. All right, what you may have missed right here on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. And if you are missing it right now, I highly suggest you watch it. Matt and I, Brant, Paulette, we're all watching a little women's hockey. United States leading Canada 2-0 after the first period. All right, I want to be a little careful about this because when I started doing radio, now granted this was a long time ago, this was pre-Twitter, but we would do this thing, Ryan Hatch and I, when we'd be talking on the radio, we'd have this, the old sounder from, the old earmuffs, because some people would get really upset because they'd want to go home and watch the Olympics as if it were live and not have any spoilers as to what's going on. But in this day and age with Twitter and everything else that's available, your phones, you can watch things wherever you want. I mean, nobody cares about the spoilers anymore, right?
That's funny. Me and Christian were literally just talking about this in the break. I'm like, I feel like, because there are people that want to go home and watch it. But with all the social media, it is impossible to avoid it. It's impossible to avoid it. We're not only that, but we're also doing a live radio show. Like, we update things, scores, whatever. That's like what we do. So
Matt and I, in fact, Matt, throw on that headset because we've got, he and I were talking. I actually enjoy watching women's hockey because it's just as physical and nasty as the men's. Now, it's not as fast, and I'll give you that.
Yeah, but you've got some extreme athletes on there really giving it all, and then they put each other against that wall just as hard as you'll see on a men's team. And right now, like I said, you got the U.S. and Canada. That's your two best teams in the Olympics.
So you're watching it here. You don't care about the spoilers. If you were sitting at your cubicle or in your office, your palatial office, I guess I should say.
I mean, at this point in time, I think it's on you, right?
Yeah, right?
Like if you want to be disconnect yourself, do the best you can to avoid it. Don't turn on the radio unless it's Scotty.
Yes. Yeah. Please do that.
And then get home and watch it. I always feel like I would rather watch it live, so I'll put it on like we have it on right now and watch it live, even if it's kind of casually watching it.
Yeah,
I can't watch 24 hours of sports. I'm not that guy yet.
It is fun being that guy.
Sure,
but it does take a little wear and tear on you for sure.
For sure, I will say that lunchtime was early, so we could watch the curling gold medal. I won't give any spoilers, but.
So that's already in the books, huh?
That's in the books.
Oh, boy.
They're just the doubles.
Nice. Right here on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Believe it or not, this guy actually has friends.
Nice.
This is Scotty G and Friends on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Kicking off your 1 o'clock hour. You hear the music, you know what that means. Our good friend Kurt Helin, NBC Sports ProBasketballTalk.com, will join us. And we'll chat all things Utah Jazz with him, get his thoughts on the trade. Trade took place right after Or actually, no, did we talk to Kurt Helin about the trade last week? I can't remember if it happened before or after our weekly conversation with Kurt. But either way, the Jazz have struck gold, and the long run of losing games has, hopefully it continues throughout the course of this year. But next year, you can see the Jazz are all in on trying to turn this thing around. Kurt Helin joins us. Kurt, how are you?
I'm doing well. Thanks for having me in.
Always a pleasure to catch up with you. All right, so the Jazz are taking some heat for playing their guys but pulling them in the fourth quarter. It almost seems like they would take less heat if they just didn't play him at all.
Yeah, I guess it's funny. It brought up the weird. I find it like I'm trying to think of a word I can use on the radio, but let's just call it organic fertilizer.
Okay, yeah.
Phrase that is ethical tanking. Like there's some ethical way to tank. Look, I don't think personally, I don't think the Jazz or frankly anyone is doing anything unethical. The job is to get the players you need to win. They are in position to get a high draft pick in a deep draft. You focus on that. Like you just said before I came on, next year is when everything flips. The culture flips. Everything spins. And, some nights you're going to still win these games because I don't know what's going on in Miami. That's a whole different conversation.
Yeah.
But look, man, this is going to be the way of the NBA. I know the league is, and tanking is going to be the big topic of the end of the season here because you've got about a third of the league now jockeying for position. But in a sport where a single elite player makes so much of a difference, let alone having a couple of them, then you got to do what you can do to get those players, right? Like you have to do whatever it takes to get those players, and the draft remains still the best way to land those kind of elite talents.
So the acquisition of Jaren Jackson and what he means to the Jazz, imagine him being on the court with Walker Kessler. Let's just say for the sake of argument, Walker Kessler, the Jazz match, whatever he gets in restricted free agency. You have Keontae George and his development and where he's at, Ace Bailey playing the two, Larry Markkinen. What does that team look like in terms of wins and losses?
You're still in the ridiculously deep West, which will shake out a little next year, but still will have a bunch of teams at the top. But if you're talking, I would say you've got a shot at getting fifth or sixth, but probably sixth, and avoiding the play-in, and it might still be a 7 or 8 just because the 7 or 8s are still pretty good in the West. But somewhere between 5 and 8, 5 and 9 would be my first guess. I off the top of my head, because the team is beyond just having Kessler, Markkinen, and Jaren Jackson along the front line. Obviously, you've got George and Bailey looked good last night when he was asked to go get some buckets. He's starting to find his footing in the league. As this starts to come together and you draft whoever you draft and you develop these players, it just becomes like you're building something that's going to be good now and potentially very good down the line. They're going to win a lot of games next season. This is a more than 500 team. If I were guessing, I would say closer to mid-40s and up. Mid-40s maybe, though, seems about fair.
I just think that there's so many people that are on cloud nine after that acquisition because it's not just about the player, who's a phenomenal player, but it just signifies that the end is here. And I think that's where Jazz fans are just fired up because it's like, okay, we don't really care who it was. It's just signifies that finally the ugliness could be coming to an end here.
And I think that there's something you can only bottom out like that for so long before your fans really do get understandably frustrated and not want to see this again. And I think that not only did they time this out about right, and 2 or 3 years, Houston did a 3-year plan. I think that's about the max you can go for these kind of things. But what Utah did with what the Angels did at the deadline was a perfect example of how to hit the accelerator and move out of this, as opposed I'm not blaming Washington for what they did because they bought cheap, right? Like they went discount bargain shopping and got Trae Young and Anthony Davis for frankly pennies on the dollar. But those are – I don't know how much those guys – if everything goes perfect, those guys help you win a lot. But if there's any kind of injury, suddenly you're not there. And granted, they're trying to get somebody in this draft as well. They've got some nice young – Alex Sarr is a good young player. George is a good player. Kyshawn George is a good player. So, like, there's some talent there. But, like, I love the way Utah hit the accelerator. Like, we got to get out of this. This is how you do it. Now you go into next season with a legitimately good team.
You think in terms of what the Jazz gave up, do you feel like they came out on top on that trade? I know everybody wants to declare winners and losers for every trade, but do you think it was a solid the amount they gave up was worth the return?
Yeah, because I think you're going to get him in a position where he can thrive. He's been asked to do – Jaren Jackson Jr. has just been asked to carry – enough of an offensive load, and he's capable of it, but enough of an offensive load because of the Ja Morant situation and everything. Look, he was their best offensive player and best defensive player. I was having this conversation with a scout earlier in the season. Like, how many teams could you say their best offensive player is their best defensive player? And there's only a handful of the Giannis's and I guess Kawhi Leonard would be that with the Clippers, and if I thought about it long enough, I'd probably come up with one or two more. But there's not a lot of those guys. You get a defender, you get an offensive player. Jaren can be that, and can be that for you guys. He is all defensive player of the year thing wasn't a fluke. He is capable of being that guy if he's playing next to Kessler, and so somebody else is helping clog the lane, and he's free to he can be more of a free safety and pick his spots.
This is, I'm just asking you to speculate here. We won't hold you to it, but what do you think the market is for Walker Kessler right now in terms of not necessarily years, but amount per year?
That's a really good question. Because of the injuries, obviously goes down, and restricted free agency is a whole nother – it's a loser for the players and a winner for the teams. Both you saw it at the trade deadline, but you saw it last summer too with Kuminga and others. It's a rough place for players to be. And that said, low 20s.
Okay.
Like he's a starter level money kind of guy, I think. So 20. Can you get him for $4 and maybe a little $4.90?
Yeah,
something like that.
I think the Jazz would do cartwheels if they were able to get that number for him.
Yeah, exactly. It might be higher. The thing is, certain young centers are in demand, and there's certain teams really looking for guys who can play that role, including one down the coast. So somebody could come in and try to poach him with a bigger number. Let's be blunt. If he's healthy, he'd look great in Boston. He'd look great in a lot of places. And it's possible somebody comes in with some cap space and tries to poach him.
It only takes one team to blow the whole thing up, for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, but we also saw, like I said, last summer, teams are really hesitant to do that right now. And this is going to be a fascinating offseason. Kessler is one of the examples of what I think is going to be one of the more interesting off seasons in terms of what guys get in a apron world where, man, 3 years ago, Jalen Duren is a no-question max guy in Detroit. He's an all-star now. He's your best. He's a big defender. Is he max? Do you really have to max him out? Do you give him the full 25%? Can you get him to take a little less? Let alone the Brandon Ingrams and Davis and Trae Youngs of the world, like older guys. It's going to be interesting to see what guys get because teams are so. I mean, there's only 7 teams into the tax this year. Teams are really backing off spending.
So your top 4 in the West right now, Oklahoma City, San Antonio, Denver, and Houston. Just because that's the top 4 doesn't mean that's necessarily the 4 best teams in the West. If you were to rank them right now as the likelihood of winning a championship, obviously Oklahoma City's number 1, Denver 2, but then what do you do with San Antonio and Houston there?
That's a really good point. I would probably still put San Antonio. Houston's lack of ball handling outside of KD, their crunch time offense, they miss Fred VanVleet so much. and now they don't have Steven Adams in there. I would put San Antonio third, even though I think they're going to learn some hard playoff lessons with a young team and start to figure out what they need. I think Detroit's kind of in the same boat, right? The young team, let's see what happens. And they're in the East, so maybe they make it through. But if not, they learn what they need to go out and try to find exactly at the trade deadline. So I think I'd still rather be them right now than Houston, where Houston, if they get healthy again next season, you're back. But
yeah,
their problem is they went with Kevin Durant, and they're already all in, right? Like they are already all in, and then they didn't do anything at the trade deadline, which was kind of interesting.
So I've always said that I think Salt Lake City is a Jazz town, not necessarily an NBA town, meaning that I could walk down the street, pull somebody aside and say, hey, do you like the Jazz? They're like, oh, yeah, I'm a diehard fan. And I'd say, okay, who's the number one seed right now if the playoffs were to start in the Eastern Conference? And they'd be like, Boston, maybe the Knicks.
Yeah.
I don't know if a lot of people really, truly understand that Detroit has a 5.5-game lead on the one spot in the East. Are you buying stock in the Pistons?
Also, the best fighters in the league. We saw that last night.
That was going to be my follow-up question, too, yes.
In this East, yes. I think that they are the team for the long term. I think they are a player away. In fact, I was and I know Zach Lowe had put this out there, who thought, man, if I were them, I would have called about Lauri Markkanen. And maybe they did. Maybe it probably went nowhere. But that's exactly the kind of player they need. They need one more shot creator who can space. They need shooting. They need something on the wing. They're still a little deficient in some places, and I just think when they get to the playoffs this year, I probably still trust New York more just because they're kind of gritty and tough and have been there, even with all the flaws on that roster. I trust them a little more right now. But Detroit's good. If I can hold that stock for a year or two, I'm absolutely in.
So, I do games for Utah State, so obviously I've got a soft spot for Sam Merrill. I called every play of his in college. So I keep a close eye on the Cavs because of that. The Harden thing just didn't make a lot of sense now that you see a little bit of sample size. Do you like that trade now?
I like it for them in the short term in this sense. They were getting nothing out of Darius Garland. And for his sake, I hope he gets healthy and gets back right. But you've got a 26-year-old two-time All-Star and you're just willing to bail. That concerns me about what they know or what they think's really going to happen long term. And they bring in a guy in James Harden who, look, he's gonna Jarrett Allen is a big winner out of this. When Evan Mobley gets healthy, they're bigs. Like Harden's still a really good passer.
Yeah,
really knows how to run the pick and roll. They're finding some comfort zones early on offense, and I think they're better with him. I think they're a bigger threat with him. That said, Donovan Mitchell has his own share of playoff blunders, and James Harden has a litany of them. And it just, I couldn't pick them to come out of the East just because they're going to get to the second round, and I don't know that I trust them. I can still pick on James Harden on defense, and can Jarrett Allen and Evan Mobley clean that up behind him enough to make it all work? So I like them, and in that East they've got a chance, but I don't know that do you trust them in the playoffs?
No, I do not. Not at all. And I'm still trying to wrap my brain around. You got two hungry mouths there in Harden and Donovan Mitchell, and I just don't know how that coexists. Especially long term under pressure, right? Like
it's looked pretty good through the 2-game honeymoon, but what happens when they really do get into some serious games and get into the playoffs? And man, Mitchell wants to be that guy, and Harden wants to be that guy, and they play such radically different styles that I'm like meshing it in the playoffs is harder. It's a little easier during the regular season because one of their issues was that their offense dropped off when Mitchell was out, and now you can stagger those guys. And Harden will happily tell you he is the system. He is the system unto himself. So if he can make that work, it works during the regular season. We'll see how it works in the playoffs.
How many games are we going to see guys get missing because of this fight last night?
Beef Stew is going to get a handful. Silver's always been light on this stuff, but I think especially Isaiah Stewart left the bench to jump in the middle of this, and he's already got he's been, like, was it eight times? 4 times just for fights. He's been suspended, and like 8 suspensions overall. He's going to get, I think, at least 3 games, maybe 4 or 5, and then I think you're going to get 1 or 2 for everybody else. But there were legitimate punches thrown in that. Like, people, it started out as, Duran kind of shoves Abate in the face, but it went into full blown, let's throw blows. Miles Bridges jumps into the mix. Yeah, that whole thing it's going to be interesting to see where they come down, because this is, it's not the malice in the palace, but it's as big a fight as we've seen in the league for a while. And I'm curious how hard they come down to stomp this, because Silver's always been a little soft, I think, on suspensions in his era, but I'm not sure it's going to happen this time. They should send a message.
I'm always surprised because when actually punches are thrown, because NBA guys are, let's be honest, they'll
Yeah.
puff out the chest, but nobody actually really wants to throw a fist. And to see some actually get thrown was a bit surprising for sure. Hey, LeBron went after his team. They lost Oklahoma City. He says, hey, we're not a title team. That's a championship team. We're not a title team. Obviously, I think he's right. And I appreciate the self-acknowledgement on where your team's at right now. But how does that go over in that locker room?
I don't think that badly, because I think they recognize it. I think it's funny, just being out here in SoCal, Laker fans have come to a recognition a while ago that, hey, we're good. Like, we've got Luka, and especially when Reeves is healthy, they got Austin Reeves back. Like, we're good, but make the playoffs, win 2 games in the first round good. Like, not good. And, not the kind of good they want to be. And I don't think it's going to play too poorly with his teammates, because I don't think anybody sees that coming for them. And LeBron has reached I don't care what everybody thinks, phase of his career, so he can kind of get away with this. But that's another team that's going to be. They're going to shake things up in the offseason. And if you saw the story this week, and I'd heard this before, it's not just going to be, they're going to tweak the roster and try to get guys who are better fits with Luka. That is a thin front office in terms of how many players or people work in basketball operations. One of the thinnest scouting staffs in the league, which you wouldn't think with the Lakers. And I think that's one thing you're going to see Mark Walter do for whatever you think of what he did with the Dodgers. And he spent on the, not just buying free agents, spent on the infrastructure, spent on coaches. They have a really good farm system now. I think you're going to see that. I think you're going to see him build the infrastructure around the Lakers. You can't buy players the same way, but them actually having a scouting department would be that'd be a nice step forward.
Well, and it's interesting because people think the Lakers and they think tons of money. And that's the case now, but people didn't really understand. The buses weren't; they were cash poor. Now they made out like a bandit on the sale of the thing, but they had to run that thing pretty lean.
They did have to run it, and they sold pieces of it. But the team also had to turn a profit, because that was the family business, right? It's not a situation where we can, and granted, you can fix the numbers however you want to fix the numbers in a lot of these things and accounting on these, hey, well, you happen to own the building too, but we can do that. You can fudge the numbers in some ways, but they had to make a profit. They had to pay for their bills. They couldn't do what a Steve Ballmer can do, which is, we lost $100 million this year. All right.
Yeah.
Whatever.
All right.
What, or whatever, or even $10 million or whatever. They couldn't go down the same road. So no, their operations on some end were really good forward facing. They were really good with players, but and treating them well. And they did spend on trying to keep the infrastructure, in terms of hey, we've got all the latest sports medicine stuff, but they didn't have a lot of sports medicine people on the roster. They just spend on the other stuff. So now I think now you're going to start to see them spend if you're the richest team in the league, act like it. So go ahead. You might as well.
Kurt, always a pleasure. Thanks for your time as always, and let's do it again next week.
I look forward to it, my man. Take care.
You got it. Kurt Helin, NBC Sports, ProBasketballTalk.com, right here on 97.5, the EKSL Sports Zone.
This guy actually has friends.
Nice.
This is Scotty G and Friends on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
All right, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Time to catch up with one of our favorites, NFL sports betting writer for Yahoo Sports, Frank Schwab, joins us. Frank, how are you doing?
Doing good. How about you?
Good. So was the Super Bowl for you boring, or was it just very calculated in how, and you could see maybe the game within the game on what this coaching staff and these, especially these defenses, were trying to accomplish?
Yeah, I mean, look, I hate to say it was boring. It's still a Super Bowl. It's still fun to see, teams emerge and strategies and all that, but it wasn't exactly exciting. Like, it wasn't one of the best Super Bowls I've seen. Wasn't the worst either. So, I respect it from just the defensive play calling of the Seahawks was so impressive. Mike Macdonald is just, I mean, when he was hired and people called him the defensive McVay, I mean, he kind of like, okay, come on, but he really is. Like, he's just brilliant on defense. And you could see it in this game. They knew where to attack. They knew how to attack. They had the Patriots just swimming. They could not protect whatsoever. So a lot of respect to what Seattle did all season. Like, we kept saying, oh, there's no great team, there's no great team, there's no great team. Well, you get to the end of it, and the Seahawks went 17-3, and their 3 losses were by 9 combined points. I mean, pretty dominant. Not the typical elite quarterback, ton of offensive points, all that, but just a good, solid team that had a really, one of those defenses we'll look back on and say, yeah, the 2002 Buccaneers and the 2000 Ravens and the 2015 Broncos. I mean, they'll be in that conversation. They were that good all year.
Was Sam Darnold just the second coming of Trent Dilfer in that game, or do you feel like he deserves a little bit more credit than maybe he's getting?
Oh, a lot more credit. See, I hate this because people will be like, oh, look at he was terrible in the Super Bowl. One game before that, he threw for 346 yards and 3 touchdowns to beat the Rams. Like, what are we doing here? What are we doing? It's just, here's what it is. And this is the honest truth, and people out there need to look in the mirror because this is you, if you're still criticizing Sam Darnold. You don't want to admit you're wrong. You don't want to admit you're wrong about Sam Darnold. We dug in so hard on Sam Darnold being a bust that people do not want to admit they're wrong. And a guy who throws for 346 and 3 touchdowns and no interceptions in an NFC Championship game, you can therefore just turn it on again in the Super Bowl and say, "I'll see, Sam Darnold stinks. I told you." Like, no, he doesn't. He has played. Let me do the math real quick right here. He's played 38 games over the last 2 seasons. 35 of those have been excellent. I mean, at some point, is he Patrick Mahomes? Is he Joe Burrow? No, he's not. He's not that guy, but he's a perfectly good quarterback who deserves everything coming to him. Did he have a great Super Bowl? No, he didn't. But he that ring is going to fit pretty well on him because he's earned it.
Yeah, there's no doubt. And the interesting thing, everybody's been going young and offensive coaches. Does what we've seen from the Seattle staff, do people now take a step back and say, no, maybe we need to look at more defensive coaches?
Yeah, and I think you're still going to always have teams that want offensive coaches. Because, look, the Titans are a good example of a team that's got a conundrum coming. They hired Robert Saleh, who I thought was a great hire. I really, in a vacuum, I thought Saleh, anybody gets a pass from me if you struggled with the Jets, because the Jets are a tire fire. They're just a terrible organization that nobody can succeed at. So he struggled with the Jets, but I think it makes him stronger as a head coach the second time around. Now, the problem is he hires Brian Daboll as his offensive coordinator. If Brian Daboll has a great year developing Cam Ward, if Cam Ward becomes a MVP candidate like Drake May did in the second year, somebody hires Wade Daboll, and he'll go to another offensive coordinator. If that offensive coordinator does well, that offensive coordinator gets hired away. This is what happened with the Buccaneers for a few years, right, with Canales and Cohen. So I think teams want that continuity for the quarterback, so they're always going to be looking for the Ben Johnson type. But I do think, you got to open your mind and say, yeah, maybe there's not a million Ben Johnsons out there. Maybe we got to go find the next Mike Macdonald instead. And, you saw a lot of defensive coaches get hired this cycle. And I think the tide is shifting. There's still a lot of value in the guys who can slow down those great offenses. And, I think that other teams will open their mind and say, hey, if we can't get that, next brilliant offensive mind as a head coach, getting a brilliant defensive mind is not that bad.
Are you surprised that Vance Johnson didn't get a opportunity, or does that that era as the head coach of the Broncos still working against him?
Yeah, I think it is. I it was so unimpressive that you just wonder if Vance Joseph is one of those guys who just kind of profiles as a really good coordinator and not a great head coach. And I don't know who in this cycle he would have gotten a job over necessarily. You could argue maybe Mike LaFleur. Like, I wasn't jumping up and down for that hire. Like, it was fine. Like, yeah, I get it. The guy coached under McVay, you always want that. But so yeah, I think that he would have to have it. It's hard because he wasn't in a great situation when he got that job. I mean, the quarterback with the situation was just terrible. So, I mean, this is just the truth. Black head coaches have had trouble getting second chances. It has happened, but it's tougher. And you feel for Vance Joseph because he's probably sitting there saying, what could I have done better, really? Like, I was stuck with a really bad situation and a bad roster that first time in Denver. He's rehabilitated himself through a couple of great defenses with the Broncos here the last couple of years, and he can't get another shot. And I think that that's frustrating, not just for him, but for a lot of black coaches who look at look at them being shut out at 10 openings this year and say, what do we really need to do? Like, what can we do to make this situation better for us so we're not going 0 for 10? I know that's frustrating for everybody involved who wants to see that change.
By the way, apologies, Vance Joseph, not Vance Johnson, for the Three Amigo reference from back in the
Ricky Nattiel is going in next.
Mark Jackson's going to be a great head coach too, I'm sure. Yeah. Hey, when you look at, speaking of the Broncos, with Vance coming back next year as a defensive coordinator, a healthy Bo Nix, in your power rankings going into next year, how high would you put the Broncos?
Yeah, and I just published those. So I had the Broncos third, I believe, behind the Seahawks and Rams, who I think deserve those top two spots going into next year. And a big reason why is, I think probably people have heard this by now, the highest paid player on the Denver Broncos each of the last two seasons has been Russell Wilson. That comes off the books. And if we know anything about Sean Payton's history, Sean Payton teams spend in free agency. They get out the credit card. They don't care about future cap hits. They spend like they're, a 22-year-old on spring break. And it's just, and I expect the Broncos to be really, really aggressive this offseason with Russell Wilson's number off the books. All of a sudden, could they go and sign a Breece Hall? Could they go and sign an Alec Pierce? If you get some offensive firepower with that offense, I think they just lack it a little bit. Like, R.J. Harvey wasn't what they wanted him to be, and J.K. Dobbins is fine, but he's always injured. The receivers are solid, but, Cortland Sutton's probably best as a number two, and I'm not sure there's another great option in that offense. If you can go spend, like not like the Patriots did this past offseason, but spend a significant amount to add a couple pieces, which I definitely think they're going to do. I mean, last offseason they were aggressive. They got Ingram and Greenlaw and Huffanega. I mean, they're going to be even more aggressive this year, more money to spend. So I think the Broncos are going to be in great shape coming into next year. But I'll say this, I think the Chargers are really good too. Like, the AFC West is going to be really interesting. The Chargers get those offensive tackles back. And I think the Chargers have the sixth most cap space in the NFL, something crazy like that. So I think the AFC West is just going to be a beast next year. I think it's going to be really, really fun to watch.
How much, I mean, because he was up for, it seemed like, some head coaching jobs, but Mike McDaniel's the OC there.
Yeah, it helps tremendously. Like, I mean, I'll say this, if Jesse Minter would have come back somehow, which was never realistic because he's such a hot name in the coaching world, that if Minter would have come back, I probably would have picked the Chargers already to win next season's Super Bowl. Okay. I mean, to get McDaniel in there for the offense, I think it's a huge upgrade. I mean, he's going to have to, adapt and fit with what they have. But, I mean, Justin Herbert's such a good place to start with that. Their defense still has a lot of pieces. I wonder about the coordinator. We just don't have a lot of, he doesn't have a long NFL resume. I mean, he was one of the directional Michigan schools last year coaching defense. That doesn't mean he can't do it, but it's a risk. But if that defense plays anywhere near where it played this year, I think the Chargers, really good. McDaniel's a big part of that.
Is there any reason that you believe Clint Kubiak can change things in Vegas, or is it just another long list of coaches that are going to struggle there?
Yeah, man, it's tough. I mean, it's from the top down. It's just been a bad franchise, and it's been a bad franchise for most of the last 40 years, and that's not easy to turn around. Now, and the biggest as anything, you're drafting a quarterback number one overall. He needs to hit. If Mendoza can carry on what he did in college to the pros, I mean, almost like Joe Burrow, like that type of guy who was just unbelievable in college and then just does it in the pros too. It changes the whole outlook of the franchise. Look, the Houston Texans 3 years ago were one of the worst franchises in the NFL. They were maybe the worst. They were absolutely positively awful. They make a great head coach hire. C.J. Stroud, I know he's been up and down, but he was really good as a rookie. And everything changes. Your entire outlook changes. Same thing can happen with the Raiders. If Kubiak's the right guy, if Mendoza's the right guy, then it doesn't. The last 40 years doesn't matter. You could turn things around that quickly in the NFL. So I would bet against it just because the Raiders have been that bad. But there's hope. There's hope. And there's more hope than there is with a 74-year-old Pete Carroll and a 35-year-old Geno Smith. Let's put it that way.
In the scouts that you talk to and people around the league, are they mostly positive on Mendoza, or is it kind of a wait and see?
I think Mendoza's not viewed as like a Caleb Williams, Jaden Daniels, Drake May level guy. He a lot of that, I don't want to say system quarterback because at some point everybody's a system quarterback other than like 5 guys on the planet. So, but he seems more system-ish than the rest. But, all the intangibles he brings to the table, people like that, he has enough. He doesn't have a howitzer of an arm like a Justin Herbert, but he's got enough of an arm. He does everything well enough. And at some point when you go 16-0 at Indiana or 15-0 or whatever they win, that says a lot. And I think that just what he's put on film is pretty darn good. And I think definitely worth the Raiders taking the first pick. You gotta swing at some point, and I think that's a perfectly reasonable gamble for them to make. He's done it in college. You got to see if that can translate to the pros, but I don't see there being any reason it can't. Like, do I think he's ever going to be MVP of the league? Probably not. But the Super Bowl champions have a quarterback who probably isn't in anybody's top 10. So you can win in different ways. You just need a good, solid quarterback, and I think he could definitely be that.
Before we let you go, I understand there's not a lot of people out there that actually feel sorry for Bill Belichick, but not going to the Hall of Fame after what he's been able to accomplish, is that something that will lead to some changes with voting?
It should. The Hall of Fame voting's been bad for a while. I hate to say it because I respect a lot of guys in that room, but it's been broken since Terrell Owens didn't get in either of his first 2 opportunities. That was just voters saying, we don't like you, and we're going to punish you. And I wonder if the same thing happened with Belichick. All of us wonder that. Belichick wasn't the cuddliest, friendliest guy with the media. There's no other reason he's not in the Hall of Fame. No. You could not give me one football reason he's not in the Hall of Fame. Oh, Spygate, I don't care. What are we doing here? Come on. That's so ridiculous to think that that's a reason. I just think that I don't know if the Hall of Fame, look, everybody's had their own theories on what happened and the voting process or whatever. I just wonder if voters, because they got a free pass for T.O., because T.O. is not I don't know. I don't know why. But they got a pass, I think, for T.O. They didn't get ripped as much as they should have for T.O. not getting in his first 2 times. That they just didn't realize the blowback here. They didn't realize that this was such an egregiously bad decision that it was going to be like, hey, we might need to shake it up and get rid of some of these voters. I don't think they ever saw that coming. And so they were like, yeah, I don't know. I haven't had anybody say this. I don't know this for a fact. But I think it's possible that a lot of those guys were like, yeah, screw Bill Belichick. He wasn't nice to us. We're not going to vote for him. And then all of a sudden it's like, oh, the entire world is mad at us now for this. We screwed up. I really you wonder, because again, you cannot make an argument why Bill Belichick's not in the Hall of Fame. You can't. No. You literally cannot make an argument. And for them to hold him out and, you can only vote for so many guys and you got to get Roger Craig in because he's bad. I don't care. Any excuse you can make is a bad one because any theory that leads to Bill Belichick wasn't a first ballot Hall of Famer tells me it was wrong. It just is it's inexcusable. And I think they kind of, I honestly don't think they expected this kind of blowback. Or I just think that maybe they didn't think that 11 guys wouldn't, maybe I'm going to be the one to not vote for Bill Belichick, but 10 other guys won't. And then it just bit them because it's probably the worst Hall of Fame vote I've ever seen in any sport. We can argue about Barry Bonds and all that, but Bill Belichick not going in on a first ballot is the worst Hall of Fame vote I can ever remember. And I think that there should be some accountability here. We don't even know who didn't vote for him. And I think that's ridiculous. If you are part of that group that votes for Hall of Fame, your vote should be public. Yeah, let's get it out there. You should not be doing this in private whatsoever.
Is that once you become one of the voters, do you have it for life until you give it up, or what is there a term? How does that? I don't even know how that works.
No, there's no term. I don't know exactly. I couldn't tell you the inner workings of how that group gets turned over when it does. But most of the guys in that room have been in that room for a long time, and it doesn't change very often. So I don't know exactly the process as far as changing voters or moving voters, any of that. I just know that usually once guys are on that panel, they stay there for a long, long time.
Yeah, yep. Well, Frank, we appreciate it as always. Thanks for your time, and let's do it again here soon.
Absolutely, I appreciate it.
You got it. Frank Schwab, Yahoo Sports, right here on just does a tremendous job covering the NFL and just does it, frankly, better than everybody else. All right, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Coming up in the 2 o'clock hour, we continue on another busy day. Patrick Kinahan will join us at 2:05. We'll chat with him, get his thoughts on the Utah Jazz. Was he bored by the Super Bowl? It's just been a long time since we've talked to PK. So we'll hit him up coming up at 2:05 right here on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
This is Scotty G and Friends on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Patrick Kinahan's going to join us here in just a moment. In fact, he joins us right now. You hear him every morning with David James from 6 to 10. Every now and then he gets a word in with DJ. It is PK. How are you, sir?
Oh, I'm good. Listening to my favorite band in the background. I see with Lloyd trying to butter me up again.
I mean, Lloyd is very calculated, and he wants to make sure you're in the best mood possible because we wrecked your afternoon.
No, he didn't wreck my afternoon anytime. As you know, I saw this group at a driving range performing last month.
At a driving range?
Uh-huh.
Wow. How was that?
Yes. It was outstanding. I was right there, 5 feet away. It is the PGA Tour stop in Palm Springs, which is usually, most always, the third week in January. And on the Friday and Saturday nights, they have a stage that is on the, not where you would tee off end of the driving range, but the other end of the driving range. And they have concerts. And they have pretty big names. Old Dominion was there Friday. It was sold out. And then on Saturday, it was One Republic.
That's that's not a bad way to go.
Yeah.
By the way, how is Pebble?
It's not Pebble, it's Palm Springs.
Oh, I thought you said Pebble. Sorry, Palm Springs. My bad.
I've been to Pebble Beach. I have not played it. If I could have management increase my salary, and now that there's a huge pot of money available because of one guy leaving the organization, I might be able to get some of that.
Oh, we're all trying to get some of that. Don't.
Yeah, or at least half the stuff for free, something like that.
And we're off. Were you bored by the Super Bowl?
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah, on the air, I'm offensive, and in my football, I got to have offensive plays, and there wasn't enough. I'm consistently offensive, or offensive, as Majerus would say.
Majerus, yeah.
So I wanted more. I wanted more action. I felt bad for the Patriots and Drake May. I think most especially, I might have felt bad for the Buffalo Bills. Couldn't get it done. It reminds me of when the Statues were playing. Oh, they lost to Jordan. And then earlier they lost to Magic, and those teams, and they were both great teams with great individual players. But where they really lost it was when Jordan was gone and kicked out of basketball, whatever it was, and they lost to, the Dallas Mavericks after being up 2-0 in a best of 5, and that was their time. And I kind of felt like maybe with the Chiefs being down, obviously that was the Bills' time. So just for sentimentality, and the guys went to Wyoming, and you've been there obviously now with your job as the Aggies football radio guy, and I was there many times. I always loved the 95, 98, 99% of the people in Laramie. I thought they got a bad rap. It's a tough place to live, but when I went there to cover basketball and football, which was many, many times, their media relations people treated you like gold.
Oh, yeah, they're the best.
Yeah, so I always have a soft spot in my heart for, and a lot of people don't think I have a heart, so I understand that, but soft spot somewhere for Wyoming And since it was Josh Allen, I thought, it would be cool to have the Wyoming starting quarterback. I had one scholarship offer coming out of some dink town up by Fresno, and was it Craig Bowl said yes, and then he goes and blows up. So we'll see, and McDermott gets fired because of it and all that stuff. And so I kind of wanted the Bills to do it, and maybe the Broncos too. Nothing against the Patriots, but my guy Kenny Dillingham is really tight with Bo Nix. Went up 1 year, well not 1 year, but this past season I think they had a Thursday night game, and the Devils had a bye, and so he flew up Thursday day, he and his wife, to go watch the game, and then came back right after the game so he could meet with them. And when Kenny Dillingham does Zoom stuff with the media in Arizona, in the background, it's a signed Broncos jersey from Bo Nix.
So when you look at the Jazz, and we'll switch gears a little bit with the Jaren Jackson trade, are we going to look back 2-3 years from now and say that's when the long nightmare of tanking came to an end? Obviously, they're going to tank as much as they can this year to hold on to that pick, but is that kind of the milestone that we'll look at and say, okay, finally they went all in and this thing came to an end?
Yeah, that was the message sent around the Wasatch Front. Austin Aines, he had some bravado in that initial press conference when he said, we're done with that, when someone asked him the question about tanking for the 25-26 season. Now, it hasn't worked out that way, but this was the season that they stopped tanking. Starting next season, obviously, they need to keep that pick. They desperately need to keep that pick. Let's hope that Jaren Jackson flies one of these airlines that can't. I know, like, if you go to the Dominican Republic, sometimes it's tough to get off that island. Wow. And so you maybe stay 3 or 4 weeks later. He's a really good player. He's the best player on the team now. I think he's better than Markkanen.
Oh, I agree.
We'll see what George develops into. He's still in the developmental process, and obviously Ace Bailey is way into the developmental process. But you look at that, and if they re-sign Kessler or get somebody like him, I'm hoping it is Kessler, get a pick, get lucky for once in the lottery, and then, wow, looking like that was the time. They still might need to add, probably do need to add pieces, but it gets a whole lot easier to add complementary players than top of the line. And maybe they get lucky. Maybe they get lucky this year and they get a couple of breaks in the lottery that makes them pick 1 or 2. And then in 2 or 3 years, that player is ready to break out, whether it's a DeBonsa, Darren Peterson, Boozer's son. I wonder, now that they've got 2 guys there, how Boozer's son would fit in. He's a very good player. Speaking of Cam Boozer, I like him. I've seen him play on television many, many times. But maybe they go in a different direction. The kid out of Carolina, maybe they go for the guard line. Always draft the best player available. I think that's the standard. I think you guys had Bill Armstrong on probably last year when he was talking about the draft, and he said always go for the best player available. And if you have too much at one, then you trade, dealing from a position of strength. I believe in that wholeheartedly. But there's no question that this, after we get through these next 6-7 weeks, that it's on, man. And everyone, you're gonna feel it. DJ and I were talking about this morning. We go over there and do media day in the morning when they have it, the first or fourth Monday in September, whenever it is. Yep. And I think this next coming September, you are just going to feel a great level of difference and a far greater level of optimism, and justifiably so.
Patrick Kinahan joining us, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. All right, so it seems like the Jazz are taking heat for playing guys and then pulling them out in the fourth quarter. It seems like they're taking more heat for that than they would have if they just benched everybody and just said, hey, go back home. You don't even need to be on this trip. Yeah,
I wrote about it at KSL.com. It's good to be able to say that now. And this is crazy, man. It's crazy. It's like you've got a freeway full of speeders and you pull over the 25th car speeding when the other 24 have been doing it exactly the same way. And now maybe the tanking. Maybe this is different in the tanking, but you're right, man. Would I rather see load management and not play? If I bought tickets to go see Orlando and then Miami and live down there or was visiting, whatever it might be, I would want to see Jaren Jackson and Markkanen play. Right now, I guess if I'm an Orlando guy, it was the best situation to have them sit, and they played well, and then it was a competitive game. In fact, they're down by 17, and obviously in the fourth quarter with the youngsters sitting on the court, on the bench, we know what happened, and Orlando won the game, and it was an exciting finish. Miami's not as good a team as Orlando, so they couldn't get the plays done that they needed to, and Sensabaugh had some big shots. I thought they barely looked really good in that fourth quarter. And so this new method, like the premise of tanking, the result is the same, but the Jazz have a new method, and people are up in arms about it. And I watched several teams do it. I watched San Antonio do it when they got Tim Duncan. The Celtics tried to do it, and they didn't. That same draft, they didn't get Duncan. And then we know OKC was losing, and then they get the second pick and get Holmgren, and he's a very nice player. They've done some other stuff, Oklahoma City. It's not like that tank got him exclusively the title. Drafting Cody Williams' brother with, I think, the 12th pick out of Santa Clara was very good. And obviously the incredible trade that they made to get Shea Alexander there with the Clippers was the catalyst. But this is what needs to be done. It's so crazy to me, Scotty. If you don't like the rules, then change them. But don't complain about a team abiding by the rules that were set up for this lottery, and they're the ones at fault. No, it's not. They're not the ones at fault. Who else are they? Free agents don't move around as much anymore anyway, and you're trying, as crazy as it sounds, you're trying to win by tanking.
Yeah, you're committed to winning. It'd be really easy just to, be middle of the pack, make your money, and walk off in the sunset.
Right.
I just think that it's a really interesting world that the NFL, frankly, says, look, we will, it doesn't matter if you tank or not. Worst record gets the number one pick. And we don't hear about that at all in the National Football League. But, boy, when it comes to tanking, and they've tried to do some things to help, but it will never go away in the NBA. It's just part of your identity. And so unless you address it, people are going to manipulate the system any way they possibly can. It's just being smart in managing. And also, too, I might add, what could be a generational type of draft.
Right. And I've seen, obviously we've seen Peterson play against the Cougars. I did anyway. You might be busy working on those days yourself with the Aggie basketball. But, you're watching the whole game. Turned disappointed last night that he had the flu, couldn't play against Arizona. I had that game circled, too, knowing that the Jazz game was starting about 90 minutes earlier, and he doesn't play. I was disappointed, but I've seen him play. And now, too, these kids are on this circuit that you can literally end up watching them in high school for their teams because ESPN will put those games on. And we knew at the time, the last 2-3 years, that the Jazz would potentially be in the mix. So I tried to watch these games. Like I said before, I probably watched 15 games of Rutgers last year because of Harper and Bailey. And they would come on early because most of the time, obviously, they're playing back east. I wouldn't have thought, now that the TV is different when I was growing up, but living not a half hour away from their campus, I never even contemplated Rutgers basketball. And here I was last year watching them religiously because thought that the Jazz would have an opportunity. As it turns out, they did. Not the way we thought, but they did. And I felt like I had a good idea about Ace Bailey because I saw him play, and there's some really great talent. The league it's got to come up with something. I've heard various plans, what are my ideas of ways to prevent it completely. I'm thinking just everybody's in, and you just draw out of it. Maybe some parameters. You can't get the number one pick twice in a 4-year period or something. I don't know, but put everybody in a hat. Could you imagine the lottery show that night?
Oh, yeah.
That would be. You want great entertainment. Let's not forget the idea of pro sports for the rest of us who are not employed by it is entertainment. And that, if you had the lottery thing and they were drawing them out at that point, that would be super entertaining, how they would do it. And figure out a way. I'm not saying that's necessarily the practical solution, but the way they're doing it now in terms of trying to stop tanking clearly isn't working. I'll give the league credit. They've tried to do some stuff to drum up interest. They know that hardly anybody's paying attention in November and December, so they came up with this in-season tournament. I don't think it's worth a crap, but I give them credit for trying something. And years ago, you used to have guys hand-checking, eliminating the movement and all. They did that. The opportunity to throw the ball into Charles Barkley and have him pound it into the cardwood for 20 seconds and then go over his left shoulder and lay it in. They've loosened up those rules. It's an entertainment league, and if you want to stop the tanking, you've got to come up. There's got to be some people who have bright minds who can figure it out and come up with something. I'm not sure what it is, but something needs to be done. NFL's different, one player, and they draft a quarterback, and it seems like that quarterback has a 50-50 chance of ever materializing, and then you can pick up guys in the sixth round who are just as good, if not better.
Patrick Kinahan joining us, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. You hear him every morning from 6 to 10. You read him at KSL.com. All right, so PK, when you look at BYU basketball, where's your concern level for them right now?
High. And I'm not saying hello. I'm saying hi, H-I-G-H, for all you Aggie fans out there. With the level relative to the expectations,
that's a different high that they're thinking of up in Logan.
Well, yeah, I mean it's a compound meaning there. I knew that they would be so sophisticated to figure it out. I mean, you telling me that Aggie fans get loaded? Is that what you're saying? I was wondering what was going on in the spectrum there. Now I know.
Hey. Never mind. I'm going to stop. I'm going to get myself in trouble. I'm going to lose a job. I'm going to be careful. All right, keep going. I'm sorry.
I went to NAU. I know what you're talking about. So if they're in the West Coast Conference, making the tournament was the primary goal, but not now. Not with this kind of money. I wish we could find out the money. Like the Dodgers are taking all sorts of heat. Pitchers and catchers were reported today, and so we were talking about it a little bit. And I said, well, if things go well and everything clicks, the Dodgers got a chance. Just obviously joking. By things being well is that the guys aren't late to the World Series because of LA freeway traffic, right? I mean, they're going to be there, and it's kind of the same thing with college sports now, right? We know about Texas Tech. Why were they there? Go look at Texas Tech's softball team. I love telling this story. They were always like 4 or 5 games over 500. They buy this gal from Stanford last year, and they were like 54-4 or something like that. And then they put out the all-conference preseason softball team. 7 young ladies are from Texas Tech. I mean, come on. Why are they going there? Well, they've got a great program. Yeah, now they do. And so that's the same thing with BYU, man. You spent a lot of money, or money was spent. I don't want to get into semantics of who's spending the money. It doesn't matter. Money was spent on these guys. You had Drew, the Baylor coach, and that's who they play tonight. I listened to him yesterday, and he was talking about, there'll be some hostility. That's what makes college sports, right? You've been in many arenas across the land for college basketball, and they're right on top of you. It's a little bit different than football, and they are, and they're very boisterous. We know that. And he was talking about, he alludes to, especially when somebody signs a contract with you that says he's going to stay and doesn't. Well, I mean, he just didn't come to BYU, speaking of Rob Wright, because, I just want to live in Provo like a lot of kids do and want to be at the BYU and UVU environments. We know that, right? Well, here's the deal. I mean, he got paid. Good for him. I'm not criticizing it, but the reality is that money was extended and accepted, and so the standards are high. And so they've got to find a way to get wins. It's as simple as that. This Baylor's a halfway decent team. There's 2 or 3 teams in the Big 12 that aren't very good at all. But then the middle of it, they can beat you. And then the top, obviously, is really, really good. And watching the Kansas-Arizona game for Shilla, a guy I've known for many years because I was a beat writer when he coached at New Mexico, used to talk on the phone with him all the time. And he says, hey, the top 5 in the Big 12 are really good. And then he says, acknowledging BYU has slipped a little bit. So that seeding, you've been on the inside of it. That you can analytic that seeding that they come up in the NCAA tournament to death, but there's still perception and bias every year. And it's important that they get back on the winning ways. And it's not like they're getting smoked, right? I get that. They were there, gave a better defensive effort against, at least intensity-wise. If you go points per possession, it was still not good, and that's because Houston doesn't have as many possessions as, say, that they had BYU faced when they went to Stillwater last week and played Oklahoma State. But at least the intensity was there. Now ratchets up. Kevin Young, you came in here much ballyhooed, and you had great success the first season going to the Sweet 16 for only the third time since Danny Ainge was playing there. Well, you're getting paid a lot. You need to figure it out, and you need to get those guys to figure it out. And it needs to start tonight, 5:30, I think, maybe 5 o'clock. And I'll be watching that game, and I want to see them win. I mean, it's fun to have local teams win, right? And so certainly we would be rooting for them. This is like the Aggies. And I've been making this point, too. I don't know if you want to get into it, but the Aggies have run through a lot of coaches here recently, and I can make an argument that Calhoun is the best of the bunch.
Oh, that's a good question. From strictly an X's and O's standpoint, the dude is like, I don't know what it was like for you to be hanging with Rick Majerus and just talk basketball. I know he wanted to talk a lot about other things, but when it was just basketball, I've learned more from Jared Calhoun than I have any other coach. And trust me, I've worked with a lot of coaches.
I know what you're saying. Majerus is my basketball mentor, actually. Yeah. I mean, we tussled a lot, but I never doubted his ability in basketball, and covering him for 10 years. Unless you're the dumbest person on earth, you're going to learn. And I learned a ton, maybe some bad stuff, but in terms of his knowledge of the game and what produces winning basketball, and I actually like watching the Aggies play because the ball's moving. It's a bunch of unselfish guys, maybe to a degree unheralded, and Falstaff. I'm in love with that guy. I don't like his haircut, but I'm in love with that guy. The way he plays the game of basketball is a lot of fun to watch.
Well, by the way, Utah State Fresno tonight, 7 o'clock. So, you know, when that BYU game comes to an end, then you can just kick it right on over and turn on the radio. By the way, I got Tim Lacombe doing color with me tonight, too.
Tim Lacombe, his hair looking really good, man. Oh. I'm telling you, this guy's a media mogul. I basically made him. Let him know that. I mean, he used to hate me because he was a Majerus guy and then maybe discovered a thing or two. But in the beginning, man, oh, gosh, he couldn't stand me when he was a young pup, and so was I for that matter on the beat. And later we've become much more cordial, and then I understand, and I've been on the phone with him a lot here recently.
I bet you have.
and I just want to throw something out, Scotty. I am not married to the 6 to 10 a.m. slot. I'm just saying that.
Oh, okay. All right. You know, there's benefits to being able to play golf in the morning and also in the afternoon. I'm just saying.
No, I think it's a little too late in the process, man. We're going to ride this out, hopefully a few more years, and see what happens. The old nerd boy, he and I have clicked, and I'm forever grateful for that.
You know, I'm not going to lie. I really thought me and my guy were going to catch you guys someday, and then, but nope, that's not in the cards. So,
well, I mean, this was my career goal. I mean, I've said this. I want to play third base for the Dodgers, and there was only one problem. I sucked, and but when I first heard sports radio, it was on from 10 to midnight. 55 KOI in Phoenix, and I worked across town. I got off work when I was going to ASU at 10 o'clock, and I worked on the opposite side of the valley, and I had to drive about 30, 40 minutes every night. I would turn that thing on, and I thought, I mean, I'm like, junior in college, thinking, gosh, man, if I could ever do that. That's a literal story. And so I literally am living the dream.
No doubt. You and me both. Hey, thanks for your time, man. I appreciate it.
All right, anytime.
There he is, the great Patrick Kinahan, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. All right, it's a Tuesday. It's time to give away some tickets.
It's Jazz Ticket Tuesday, and your chance to win tickets is right now.
Call this number now.
Call this number now.
Be caller number 12 at 801-575-ZONE. 801-575-ZONE. And you'll be on your way to Delta Center to see the Utah Jazz.
He fires the three. He hits. Oh, don't do me like that.
This is 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
All right, your chance to win tickets right now. Caller number 12, 801-575-ZONE. That's 801-575-ZONE, and you'll win a pair of tickets. See the Jazz square off against the Portland Trailblazers. But you got to be caller number 12 right now, 801-575-ZONE. And remember, the winning doesn't just end today. Tomorrow, it is a Win Ticket Wednesday. This week, we've got tickets to see Brian Regan at the Delta Center coming up on February 14th. That's Saturday, Valentine's Day. Get your tickets right now at SeatGeek.com and or listen all day tomorrow as we will have multiple chances for you to win those tickets to go see Brian Regan on a Win Ticket Wednesday. Women's hockey team took care of some business, Lloyd, roughing up the Canadians. What was that score? What was the final? 4-0? 5-0.
5-0. Yeah, whew. A big 0 for a country that claims that hockey started there.
Look, I know for some reason it's kind of like in vogue for people to hate on Canada. Like, I've got no beef with Canada. They're fine. I like a good Tim Hortons donut every now and then. But you know what? When we as Americans get to rough them up in terms of their sport, yeah, that's great. I mean, like, if Canada was ever to beat us in NBA or like the Olympic men's basketball, or baseball or something along those lines, then yeah, that would be embarrassing. That's our sport. You don't get to screw around with us.
You can't do NBA if that ever, and that would never happen. But
I mean, I know that there's somebody out there that's going to be saying something in terms of, the guy that created basketball. What's his Naismith? That he actually is a Canadian. But okay, you don't get to count him. He was an American when he did it. So
yeah, stop. Absolutely, that doesn't count.
No, it doesn't.
But for the U.S. to do what they did, my gosh, that was embarrassing.
5-0. 5-0. All right.
An effort.
Hey, I've got a story here I want to go over with you. But before we do that, we've had a couple of NFL experts come on. We've talked to Brock Huard. We've talked to Frank Schwab.
Really regret talking to Brock, by the way. Life is so good.
Yeah. You know, the good thing about him is that he just opened up about it. He's like, yeah, you know what? It's good to be me right now.
Yeah,
life is good.
I respect it.
Can't complain with him whatsoever. Like, good for him. Just own it. Just be like, yeah, you know what? Got the Mariners, they're cooking. Got the Seahawks that just won a championship, so they're cooking, and we're going to get an NBA team here in a couple of years. So, yeah, life's pretty good. But all of them are not overly thrilled about your guy Kubiak's chances there to turn things around with the Raiders.
Well, I think they realize that, one, he needs to see what he can bring with him to the Raiders. And two, they need an offensive line. Let's be honest. There needs to be, if they have that same offensive line, Fernando is going to get abused. So I think there is still some work, but he can't be worse. There's no way he can be worse than Pete Carroll. Okay, he could have 0 wins, sure. Yeah, so I guess he could. But if that happens, the bottom line is the Raiders actually have to let it breathe a little bit. They need to let a coach do some things for a sec. Let him cook for a minute, and then let's see. I kind of understand why they reacted the way they did with Pete Carroll, because I did not expect him to go backwards like he did. I mean, to go to just only have 2 wins, it's like, okay, well, we're not going to have Pete Carroll for the long haul anyways, so why waste our time with this? I actually understand that with Pete Carroll. It's like, okay, well, we're not going to let this breathe. Like, we can't. You just can't. Couldn't deal with that with Pete Carroll he probably had a couple more years, like 2 max.
I mean, the problem is, though,
he's nearly dead.
Trust me, I know. But you've got
I know you're taking a lot of joy in it. Yeah, I get it. We like to pay coaches. I get it. It's fine.
It's all right.
I don't appreciate the joy that you take in this, though.
I'm not taking any joy in this. No,
yes, you do.
No, I look, as a close friend, we're
don't
in
even
this
care
together.
About that. We're not in this together.
That's not true. I feel your pain. I know what it's like.
I might loathe every one of you more than Chiefs fans.
Oh,
there might be a little bit of that. I'm not going to lie.
You don't mean that.
I'm not going to lie. I'm really starting to like Rusty a lot, actually, compared to you.
Hey, look. You know what? I've just experienced a really good season. That if my quarterback didn't get hurt, the Broncos win a Super Bowl this year. And so, look, I just want you to enjoy the same kind of joy that I've been able to.
They were beating the Seahawks. The fact that you guys think they were going to beat the Seahawks, you are so out of your mind.
That's a broken ankle away from a Lombardi trophy coming back to Denver. That's the only thing. And frankly, I think even Stidham beats him. If he doesn't get caught in a snowstorm.
Oh my gosh! Now you're senile. What is wrong with you? What's wrong with you? Stidham, okay. Right. Like all the other teams around the NFL didn't already know who Jarrett Stidham was. Right. The Raiders knew who he was.
Well,
Heck, the Patriots knew who he was. See ya. Only Sean Payton thinks, wow, we should pay this guy like $6 million a year because he's a great backup. And if our guy goes down, he's going to be no. Sorry, $6 million a year for Jarrett Stidham. Highest paid backup. Okay. How did that work out?
Don't be taking out your frustrations.
No,
on
I'm just saying.
Stidham.
How did it work out? It didn't. He was terrible.
Guess what? It worked out in the AFC Championship game.
That's fine. Did you get all the way? It doesn't even matter. You might as well have not made the playoffs.
Yeah, we would have.
The same difference.
No. Oh, it's not the same difference. If you don't end up winning it all,
it doesn't even matter. It doesn't matter if you don't win it all.
So you saying the Broncos and the Raiders had the same season?
Pretty much.
Okay.
Might as well.
Right.
Same result. No Super Bowl.
Fair enough. Sure. All right. Fair enough. In fact, you could say you had a better year because you've got a better draft pick out of this season.
Exactly.
So, yeah, you could say the Raiders had a more successful season than the Denver Broncos did.
Man, I appreciate that. I'm going to use that as a drop.
Know what?
I'm going to use that as a drop.
By that rationale, I can't argue with you on that. I can't. You're spitting truth. All right. The Olympics, I wish this guy would have said this in English because I want to hear this soundbite of it, but it was in his foreign language. This is a Norwegian who won a bronze medal and was going to do his post-game interview or his post-ski match interview. And he's a biathlete, won bronze, and then unprompted used his post-game race interview to reveal that he had cheated on his girlfriend, she had left him, and that he hopes that by committing social media suicide right now, it will show her how much I love her. So here's the interview. He said, I want to thank everyone who's helped me on the path to his first individual Olympic medal. Now there's someone I wanted to share it with who might not be watching today. 6 months ago, I met the love of my life, the most beautiful and kindest person in the world. 3 months ago, I made the biggest mistake, and I cheated on her, and I told her about it a week ago. It's been the worst week of my life. He goes on to say, maybe I'm just stupid. I'm a member of the sorority, but I do stupid things. I've regretted it every day since, and I soon realized that this was, in fact, the woman of my life, and I can't live my whole life keeping it a secret from her. My only way to get that goal is to tell her everything and put it on the table and hope she can still love me. I've done that for her, and now the whole world, I have nothing left to lose, says the bronze medalist. I don't know if unveiling all your dirty secrets on national TV after winning a bronze medal, I don't know if that's going to fly.
It was only a bronze?
Yeah, that's the thing. If you'd won gold, you might be like, all right.
Can't do that when you win a bronze. Bronze is really, come on.
But you're the second loser. I mean, come on, really? If you win gold, you might have a chance to win her back.
Because that would make sense. Because you know what? I gotta imagine the ladies will be flocking because of a gold medal. So,
man.
But, I'm not going to chance that. I'm just not going to, you know what? You just need to, talk to her personally.
Yeah,
I don't think letting it know that she got cheated on, that you cheated on her on national TV. No, That's not the way to go.
No, this isn't going to fly. I feel bad for the guy. I really do. But you know what? There might be a good reason for you that you're not with this woman anymore. Outside of the cheating, you're just a weirdo. So, knock it off. This is gross. I just wish it was. I would love nothing more than to have this in English so that we could all hear this. And I'm watching the video of it right now, and it's subtitled, and the dude is in tears. Like he had just won a bronze medal, and he doesn't have the love of his life to share it with.
Wait, remind me, what was the sport again? Sorry, I didn't know if you had said it.
He's got a set of skis, so something skiing related.
Huh.
Yeah.
Really depends on what kind of sport that is, too.
Yeah. All right. We'll wrap this thing up next. 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.